Question number 1. The only thing feathers may provide is some fiber, but it should be a minuscule amount if they are used. They are way overdo it, plus they add other junky fiber to make the stools firm, since the food is junk period and mess up the gut. This is in response to the Royal Canin analgenic. And Royal Canin analgenic contains chicken feather hydrolysate, which is essentially chicken feathers. And so this viewer is saying that chicken feathers, I mean, what is the nutritional value of a chicken feather, ladies and gentlemen? It's not very good, is it? That particular recipe, if you look at it, the analgenic recipe, in my opinion, contains very, very little in the ways of nutrition. I do not think that bag of food is good at all. So yes, I do agree with you that the only thing feathers do provide is some fiber. It's insoluble fiber. It tends to pass through the dog, and so whenever your dog has diarrhea maybe, or has a bit of an icky tummy, some insoluble fiber such as chicken feathers or furry ears or rabbit ears, lamb ears, anything with fur from your local pet shop would be really, really good. That tends to do the trick. It tends to help, and it's a wonderful resource, really. So yeah, chicken feathers, it's good as insoluble fiber. I wouldn't feed Royal Canin analgenic if my life depended on it. Librela should be the last ditch effort, not the first thing. We are still covering, and we are going to read out a lot more comments regarding Librela and Solensia, which are the two arthritis drugs from Zoetis. I have an expert on Librela and Solensia coming up on Friday to talk about these drugs. And so if you have any questions, if you want to know anything specifically, anything this which is constructive, please be constructive. Please let me know. So Librela should be the last ditch effort, not the first thing. So my dog is 10. He's getting on, basically. He struggles to get on and off the car. He struggles to get on and off of bed. And sometimes we used to wonder whether we should put the dog on some sort of treatment for arthritis. Now, he's on glucosamine tablets. By the way, glucosamine, you can get them again from your local pet shop or from the food. Glucosamine tablets work really well for dogs with arthritis. Anything with chondroitin, glucosamine, anything with cartilage, treats-wise. So if you feed your dog pig ears, rabbit ears, any sort of cartilage, tendon, that's what contains glucosamine. And I wouldn't do that now. I would absolutely not put my dog on Librela or my cat on Solensia. Absolutely no chance. Not after I have been listening to so many of you. Absolutely not. Do everything else first. Supplements, physio, acupuncture, whatever. Only then, and only if the quality of your life, of your dog's life, is at a point where there is no improvement to be expected, this should be tried. Maybe you will get some more months with your pet. Don't run to Librela immediately, in my opinion. Thank you so much. Yes, we still get so many comments. This doesn't seem to go away. It doesn't seem to go away. We are going to carry on talking about it. And so, I mean, it's important, isn't it? It's quite important. So I'm really, really excited about this chap who's coming on Friday to explain the whole thing. Next comment. I am truly one of the lucky ones after literally thousands of hours of physio. Bit of an exaggeration, isn't it? Laser and massage therapy and thousands of dollars that I didn't have. She's now walking. Many, and I would say most, had a similar adverse reaction, didn't. Zoetis doesn't care. Have you looked at the difference in the different countries' drug insert? No, I haven't. I haven't looked at the disparities between countries. The one thing I do know, and the one thing that Zoetis has been saying, is that they have administered over 18 million shots. And so even if 5,000 of those go south for whatever reason, then we are talking about end life care for dogs in most occasions. Dogs go downhill really quickly, really quickly, and so it's hard to sometimes establish a one-to-one causation between you giving the dog something and the dog going south, and or the dog not recuperating, or the dog turning a corner, really. So it's one of those things. I am a veterinarian overseas. How can I get a job in USA? Well, I have no idea. I am not from the US. I am in the United Kingdom. I have no idea. But what I do know is that there is a shortage of vets, and very interesting. Really interesting. So I have been following vets who have been made redundant lately in some of these big corporate practices here in the UK. So not only your vet bills are going up, and my vet bills are going up, but these companies are getting leaner and leaner and leaner. And not only they're getting leaner, they are increasing prices, getting leaner, more efficient in P&L terms, in financial terms. And that is going to come at a cost, in my opinion. I don't know how you can get a job as a vet in the US. Getting into the US, from what I've heard, is quite hard, unless you are very skilled. And even then, there are people who can get into the US. But the land of opportunity, I suppose, isn't it? Really interesting. Vets are getting leaner. Vets are getting sacked. Vet practices are now actively contacting pet parents to induce a checkup. There was a post the other day by an independent vet, who said that in one of the corporate-owned veterinary practices here in the UK, they were now actively reaching out to patients to encourage them to come back and book a consultation. And the argument he was making, that this is not how medicine works. If nothing's wrong with you, nothing's wrong with you. You don't book an appointment with your GP, with your doctor. You don't, because you feel fine. Maybe once every 5 years, maybe, say. But if nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. Now, you actively checking up every so often, them giving our dogs or our cats something, I don't think that's right either. So it's really interesting that the way things are going are towards unsustainability. I made a video about the shortage of vets in the US, and that applies to the UK. Very interesting. Go watch it. So yeah, most people are absolutely against vegan or vegetarian dog or cat food, and yet they feed their dog or cat a food which is minimum meat and mostly plants anyway. This is from Kura Reaper, I remember, and you couldn't be more right, my friend. I mean, I'm not going to name any brands, right? Because I'm not going to name any brands. But we see, and we have seen lately, yesterday, I'll tell you about an incident that happened yesterday. So, woman rings up, and she is she's hysterical. She's crying. She's really upset, and her dog has gone from 10 kilos to 3.6 kilos in 1 year. The dog is in its last legs. They have tried everything. They have tried Purina HA, contains sugar, contains wheat gluten, contains a lot of these things that aren't very good for dogs, in my opinion. She's tried Purina. She has tried vegan, plant-based diets. They have just ordered something else from another vegan dog food because the vet had told them the dog cannot break down proteins anymore. So any protein the dog gets need to come from vegan sources, which is, I mean, it's staggering that is the level of certain vets these days. But anyway, he's right. Kuro Reaper is right. Sometimes people feed foods that are plant-based anyway, that are vegan anyway. If you feed a food that's 4% meat and animal derivatives and everything else is wheat, gluten and corn and barley and rice, then you are by definition feeding a plant-based diet. There are working dog foods here in the UK at least where it's 67% brown rice as the first ingredient. That's a plant-based diet. That's an arguably a vegan diet because the rest isn't high quality meat. The rest is something else, you know. The rest is whatever it is. But it isn't meat. It's oats, it's linseed, it's whatever it is. So most people are against vegan or plant-based foods for their dogs or cats. And I think rightfully so, in my opinion. But a lot of the treats and the foods, they feed extra carrots. Again, we had another lady in one of our branches giving the dog carrots and this and that and the other, like loads of vegetables. And I'm like, you have a German Shepherd. You have a big German Shepherd. And you're treating your German Shepherd as a rabbit, basically, with all the kale and the spinach and the carrots and this and that and the other. Just feed the dog more meat. No, I home cook for my dog and I give the dog the extra veggies and I give the dog Royal Canin on top of it. That's a plant-based diet, isn't it? It's staggering the level of misinformation sometimes among pet parents, and it's our life's work, I suppose, in our branches and now online to get through to people and to be like, you need to wake up because the lady whose dog weighed 10 kilos and now weighs 3.6 or whatever, she is on the verge of having a panic attack or a heart attack because she's really upset. And now she's come to us. She's coming, I think, today. And it's going to be really hard for a dog with diarrhea, with a severe chronic underway to get the dog back up because we have no data. We have zero data. What is the dog allergic to? Do we have an allergy test? Do we not have an allergy test? Some of these working assumptions are sometimes wrong. If your dog is poorly for whatever reason, don't work on working assumptions. Work on data. Do we have the tests? I had, again, another lady the other day. They suspect the dog has pancreatitis. They suspect. What do you mean you suspect? Do you have the tests? No, the vets kept them. Well, ask for the bloody copy. It's unbelievable. But yes, absolutely, I do agree. A food which is minimum meat and mostly plants anyway. Absolutely. And there are so many of those. There are so many. And again, plants are cheaper than meat. So people, of course, are going to a certain extent, take the mickey or try to slip in as much as much plant matter as possible because that is what's affordable. Anyway, don't even think about giving your dog Librela. There you go. Yet another one. Prescription diets are junk, but so are plant-based diets. Yes, I am making a video about this actually. And I am very confused, and I specialize in nutrition, and we make, again, our salt from good food. That's how our whole thing. You feed your dog or cat one of our foods, your dog or cat will live a much, much happier life. Why will they live a much happier life? Because we keep it simple, we keep it nutritious, we try to keep it fresh, and so that's what we believe in. We see results. We have seen thousands of dogs at this point do really, really well, and we have a testament to it, really. And so prescription diets are recommended by vets. Vets are deemed to be experts. We then have raw feeding vets, and those vets are experts. And then we have now vegan vets, and they are experts, and they recommend vegan dog foods. And then we have experts in something else, and that's where they recommend. And a lot of these experts bash each other's diets. And it's a bit like religion, isn't it? No, like that religion is not very good. It's our religion, the good one. The good one is our religion. Maybe that's not the best. It's not the best analogy, but anyway. So a lot of these experts, so-called experts, will have maybe a monetary interest or a vested interest in promoting a particular food or style diet. And my question is, how is that so? How is that so? Well, it is the same as with us, with humans. Remember the carnivore diet? Remember vegans? Remember, I don't know, Slimming World, for example, here in the UK, where you only eat minimal carbs and tiny portions, and that's how you lose weight. Other people swear by, I don't know, the only fat diet, the Atkins diet. Remember the Atkins diet? There's so many CrossFitters. I'm a CrossFitter, but I don't follow their meal plans. They nuts and seeds and meat and vegetables and nothing processed, that sort of thing, right? Who's right here? Who's right? It's interesting. The whole debate is very, very interesting. And when I interviewed the vegan vet, I highly recommend you watch it because it's fascinating. It seems to me that a lot of her arguments for vegan dog food stem from her belief in veganism, in stopping cruelty against animals, which is quite commendable, but is not right for their dog. I think it's commendable that she thinks like that she wants to end cruelty, that she wants to end factory farming, which can be sometimes a bit questionable in their practices. And I'm a massive meat eater, by the way. But that shouldn't stop us from wanting and recognizing what the best for our dogs is. I have come to the working assumption, and this is a big belief now of mine, and it's been forming over the past few months, that our dogs are so resilient that they will live forever on anything. You feed your dog a raw-based diet, your dog will live a long time. If you feed your dog a prescription dog food, your dog will live a long time. If you feed your dog a vegan dog food, your dog will live a long time. If you feed your dog rocks, your dog will live a long time. Dogs are very resilient. Dogs are scavengers. They're scavenging carnivores, facultative carnivores, whatever you want to call them. Are they omnivores? I don't think so. Can they survive? They can probably survive on a vegan dog food or rice or whatever. They'll just survive. I do not think we should. I think we should be very, very careful in the ways of nutrition with our dogs, because we do not know what the consequences of all these foods are going to be in 5, 10, 20 years down the line. Let me put you this scenario whereby you feed your dog a poor quality dog food, a vegan dog food, whatever, and I don't think they are right for dogs, for example, and the dog lives and breeds and now passes on the genes down the line. All those, in my opinion, processed foods, all those foods that aren't suitable for a dog, all those bad genes and conditions are going to pass down through the chain, and the puppies of the puppies of the puppies of the puppies are going to be in a pretty dire state. And I know that because I see it today. I see it today with dogs with allergies, dogs who have been bred in a very specific way. Like you have blue labs, blue staffies, fluffy Frenchies, all this sort of nonsense. And so we should be very, very careful when it comes to nutrition. The problem is everyone is very highly decorated and everyone promotes something different. So what is the right one for your dog? And this is what I tell people whenever they come in. High meat content, as few carbohydrates as you can. As few carbohydrates as you can. Where do the carbohydrates come from? Vegetables, whatever else you want to feed the dog, keep it to a minimal. Is it 5%? Is it 10%? I don't know. Is it 20%? I don't know. As few carbohydrates as you possibly can. Feed the dog as much meat as possible and as few carbohydrates as you can. Whether that few carbohydrates is 10 or 50%, I have no idea. We have no precise data on it. So unless someone presents me with the data, and they aren't going to present you with the data, we don't know. So my dog eats 0 vegetables and 0 carbohydrates. He only eats meat. He follows the straight 80-10-10. He's 10 years old and he looks absolutely in phenomenal condition. So does my cat, by the way. He's raw fed. They are both raw fed. But that doesn't mean you should raw feed your dog or cat. That just means that I am in the industry and I can work with shortages of food, and I forget food, and I can go to one of my shops and get a pack, and it's convenient for me. So if you are feeding kibble, for example, find a good quality kibble and your dog will be fine. Get an 80-20 or something like that. High meat content, high meat, low carbohydrate. That's what works. My lab developed tridemical neuropathy, drop jaw, and persistent fever 2 weeks after Librela, and also lost 15 pounds. And her labs were normal before injection. Her jabs, I suppose, were normal before injection. She lost all interest in life at that time, and we lost her exactly 1 month from injection. Sad face. She was also diagnosed with Cushing's after her CT scan 2 weeks in. Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry to hear that. And this is again, excuse me. This is again, if you have a dog which is end of life or getting on in a substantial and tangible way, then of course you are to a certain extent exposing yourself. This is the same as when your nana or granddad gets a treatment and the doctor sits you down and tells you, hey, this could happen. Do you want to go ahead or do you not want to go ahead? It's the same sort of thing. So yeah, rapid weight loss in dogs needs to be addressed and assessed very, very carefully, as what we discussed with the other lady before. It has to be really thought out. If your dog ever drops in weight quite suddenly, you do have to question everything the dog is getting. Absolutely everything. So persistent diarrhea and vomiting, that you can totally keep it together, right? But oftentimes it's not just one thing or another, it's a multitude of things, and that's what causes sometimes the problem. Prescription dog foods, I say BS. Stick to your field of expertise. Leave nutrition for the nutritionists. There are nutritionists in this country, right, that would recommend or that would feed or that put actually rice in dog food, for example. Cook rice as a source of carbohydrate for your dog. Certified nutritionists. So do nutritionists even know? Someone actually pointed out, and it was the vegan vet, and this is something I put my hands up to. And she said, well, if you think about it, right, dogs or cats in their natural habitat, if they were left to their own devices, they would never go into the ocean or a pond and fish. And I went, of course they wouldn't. What are we talking about? So whenever we talk about biologically appropriate dog or cat food, is fish biologically appropriate for dogs or cats? I don't think it is. This is why it's so important to listen to the other side of the argument, right? So if so many dogs and cat foods contain fish and they claim to be biologically appropriate, and we have adopted the notion that that is biologically appropriate, and by the way, I feed my dog or cat fish sometimes, then what are we talking about? That was a pretty stark revelation. I was like, of course they wouldn't. Of course a cat wouldn't catch sardines in a pond. Not in a pond, in wherever sardines are, in the ocean. So leave nutrition to the nutritionists. Who's a nutritionist? And what credentials do they have? It's very, very hard. Because like even for us, and we see hundreds of dogs every week, we convert hundreds of dogs every week onto better foods. And those dogs go on to be a lot healthier. But even then, all we have is anecdotal, or you can call it factual evidence, but from observation. We have no tests. We can't test every 2,000 dogs that come into our shops. We have no ways of discerning what those dogs are getting on top of their diet. You know, what else are dogs being fed? We have no idea. So leave nutrition to the nutritionists seems to me a bit of a cop out, because anyone is a nutritionist, anyone is a vet, anyone will recommend something to you. So it's very nuanced and it's really interesting. I find it so interesting, and I'm going to come up with a lot of cool content around it actually. Rocco is a 10-year-old Rhodesian Ridgeback. Lovely dog. We noticed some high-end weakness over the summer. He couldn't jump in the car anymore. That's what my Leo is like. We assumed big dog, 110 pounds and hips. We got some mild sedation on him and had his hips x-rayed at the end of November. There was very minimal arthritis. In fact, our vet was amazed for the size of dog, how great his hips are. As he was showing some pain, he advised Librela. I had no fear of it, as at the time we were giving our cat, the cat version, Solentia, and she was doing great. 24 hours later, Rocco couldn't walk from his bed to the back door. He was having surprise poops, diarrhea, and was generally blue. That's another testimonial. That is another testimonial, Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So sorry to hear. So sorry to hear. By the way, like, subscribe, and leave me all the comments.